Welcome to the Courageous Moms Podcast, a place where moms like you, facing the challenges of a child battling addiction, can find faith, hope, and connection. I'm Christie, a mom walking this road alongside you. Here, you'll be reminded that you are seen, you are loved, and most importantly, you are not alone. Together, we'll uncover the courage within us to face each day and embrace the grace that carries us through. Let's lean on faith, hold on to hope, and take this journey one step at a time together. Hey Mama, I hope you're having a wonderful summer so far. I don't know about you, but even though school is out, life around our house hasn't exactly slowed down. We may not have the school routine anymore, but we're still running to dance, trying to plan family time, squeezing in a short vacation day when we can, and somehow figuring out what we're having for dinner every single night. Anybody else tired of hearing the question, what's for dinner? Summer just has a different kind of busy, doesn't it? Lately, as I've been watching families out making memories this summer, I found myself thinking about something that I don't think we talk about nearly enough. When one child is struggling with addiction, so much of our focus naturally goes toward that child. We're making phone calls, researching treatment centers, praying constantly, worrying, hoping, and simply trying to help them survive another day, and rightly so. But today I want to talk about someone else, the brothers and sisters, the children who are quietly living through addiction too. Because while we're trying to save one child, there are often other children in our home who are trying to understand why life suddenly feels different. This episode is for them. My girls were only 7 and 10 years old when my son's addiction really came to light. At that age, they didn't know what addiction was. They just knew something had changed. They could sense it. Kids are so much more aware than we sometimes give them credit for. They notice whispered conversations. They notice when mom seems distracted. They notice when dad is quieter than usual. They notice when routines suddenly change. Even if they can't explain it, they know something feels different. In those early years, my husband and I made a decision that we wanted to protect their childhood while also being honest in ways they could understand. Looking back now, I realize we were walking a really delicate line. We were trying to help one child while making sure our daughters still felt safe, secure, and deeply loved. Did we do it perfectly? Not even close. But we did it intentionally, and I think that's what mattered most. There's one memory that still stands out so vividly all these years. It was Thanksgiving. My son had just gone to his very first rehab facility in Tennessee, and we knew he'd be spending Thanksgiving there. If you've ever had to leave your child at rehab, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Driving away is one of the hardest things a parent will ever do. Then you realize Thanksgiving is coming, and your child won't be sitting around the table with the rest of the family. That hurt. Thanksgiving had always been one of our favorite holidays. It meant family, traditions, familiar recipes, football on TV, laughter, and just being together. Suddenly, none of it looked the way we thought it would. At the time, our girls believed their big brother was away at baseball school. We were trying to protect their hearts while giving them only what they were emotionally ready to understand. I can still picture them packing their little bags, excited about taking a trip to Nashville. To them, it was an adventure. To the adults, it was one of the hardest weeks we'd ever lived. Looking back, I'm actually thankful they didn't know everything. They deserved to simply be little girls. They deserved to laugh, to explore a new city, to be excited about staying in a house together over Thanksgiving. Meanwhile, my husband, my parents, and I carried the weight they weren't meant to carry. Instead of celebrating Thanksgiving the way we usually had, my parents and the 4 of us rented a house in Nashville so we could stay close to my son. We visited him in the rehab facility and shared Thanksgiving lunch together there. Was it hard? Absolutely. One of the hardest Thanksgivings we've ever had. But here's what I remember most. I don't just remember the sadness. I remember the laughter. I remember walking around Nashville together. I remember the girls being excited to explore somewhere new. I remember the amazing Thanksgiving meal. I remember being together, going to look at Christmas lights, and making s'mores by the fire. They were so happy, and I can still see them dancing in front of a huge tree made of poinsettias at the Gaylord Opryland lobby. Looking back now, I realize God gave us a gift that week. He reminded us that joy and heartbreak can live in the very same moment. You can be worried sick about one child while making beautiful memories with another. Those two things don't cancel each other out. They can both be true. And sometimes we as moms feel guilty for that. We think if we're smiling at a dance competition or laughing over dinner or enjoying a family outing, somehow we're forgetting about the child who's struggling. But that's simply not true. Your other children still deserve your presence. They still deserve your attention. They still deserve their childhood. And Mama, so do you. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is laugh in the middle of a hard decision. Not because everything is okay, but because God is still present in the middle of it. One thing I'm especially thankful for as I look back is that even during our hardest seasons, we made a conscious decision to keep showing up for our girls. Now, let me be honest, it wasn't always easy. There were days when I was emotionally exhausted before the day even began. I would cry in the shower, wipe away my tears, put on makeup, and head to a dance competition or a school event. Sometimes I'd sit in the parking lot for a few extra minutes praying, asking God to give me the strength to be fully present. Because in those moments, my girls didn't need a mom who had all the answers. They just needed their mom. So we showed up. We cheered at dance competitions. We celebrated award ceremonies. We helped with school projects. We laughed over silly family dinners. We kept traditions alive as best we could, and I'm so thankful we did. Not because we were pretending everything was okay. It wasn't. But because our girls still deserved a childhood filled with love, encouragement, and memories. Addiction had already stolen enough from our family, and we didn't want it to steal their childhood too. I think that's one of the hardest balancing acts for any parent walking this journey. You're constantly asking yourself, am I giving enough to the child who's struggling? Am I giving enough to my other children? Am I failing someone? Mama, if you've ever asked yourself those questions, you're not alone. I certainly did. There were nights I would lay awake wondering if I missed something with one child because I was so focused on another. There were moments I questioned every decision. But here's what I've learned. Our children don't need protection. They need presence. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give them is simply being there, really being there, looking them in the eyes when they're talking, putting down our phones, watching them perform like they're the only child on the stage, celebrating their accomplishments, even if our hearts are carrying something heavy. Those ordinary moments become extraordinary memories. One thing I also noticed was how easy it was for siblings to become what I call the quiet child in quotation marks. Maybe you've seen this in your own family. They're the child who doesn't complain very much. They don't ask for a lot. They seem independent. They tell you they're fine. And because they're not creating another crisis, it's easy to assume they are really okay. But sometimes simply saying I'm fine means I don't want to be one more thing mom has to worry about. That realization broke my heart because children have an amazing ability to protect the people they love. Sometimes they carry emotions they were never meant for their little shoulders. Sometimes they grow up much faster than they should. They may miss the sibling who used to play with them, the sibling who laughed with them, the sibling they looked up to, and that's a real loss. And it's okay to acknowledge that. As the years went on, our girls got older, and so did the conversations. The girls who once believed their brother was away at baseball school eventually became young women who knew the truth. As they matured, we chose to become completely open and honest about what was happening, not because we wanted to burden them, but because we wanted to prepare them. I believe awareness is one of the greatest gifts we can give our children. Addiction is not something families should have to hide in shame. The more we talk about it, the more we replace shame with understanding. We replace fear with education. We replace silence with compassion. Those conversations aren't always easy, and sometimes there were hard questions. Sometimes I simply had to say, I don't know, and that's okay. As parents, we don't have to know every answer. We just have to create a safe place for where our children know they can ask the questions. One thing I've learned is that children are incredibly perceptive. Even when we think we're hiding something well, they often know something isn't quite right. That's why I believe age appropriate honesty is so important. For us, it looked different as the girls grew older. When they were little, we protected what they weren't ready to carry. As they matured, we invited them into honest conversations that helped them understand addiction, recovery, and grace. We wanted them to know something that I hope every family understands. Addiction is a disease. It affects the entire family, but it doesn't define a person's worth. Our son was never just his addiction. He was still their brother. He was still deeply loved, and he was still worth fighting for. Those conversations didn't just educate our girls. I truly believe they helped our family heal. They created empathy. They strengthened our relationships, and they reminded us that even when addiction changes a family, love can still hold that family together. So maybe today you're listening while you're folding a load of laundry, driving to dance practice, picking your child up from summer camp, running errands, or maybe you're simply sitting in your driveway for a few extra minutes before walking into the house because you just needed a moment to breathe. Wherever you're listening from today, I hope you hear this. Please don't forget the quiet child. Notice them. Check in with them. Ask them how they're really doing. Sometimes the simplest moments become the ones they remember for years to come. A quick Starbucks run, an ice cream date on a hot summer afternoon, talking in the car with no cell phones and no distractions, watching them perform like they're the only one on stage, laughing together around the dinner table, praying together before bed. These moments may seem ordinary to us, but to our children, they speak volumes. They say, I see you. You matter. I'm here. And Mama, if you've been carrying guilt because this journey has affected your entire family, I want to encourage you with something I wish someone had told me years ago. Guilt is a terrible leader. It will convince you that you're never doing enough, that you're failing one child because you're helping another, that you should have done something differently, that if you had just said the right thing or made a different choice, things would somehow be different today. But that's not where God wants us to live. He calls us to live in His grace, not in guilt. Love, grace, and faith can lead you, but guilt will only keep you looking backward instead of trusting what's ahead. I truly believe God sees every unseen sacrifice mothers make during this journey. He sees the sleepless nights, the tears you cry when no one else is watching, the prayers whispered in the shower, the balancing act of trying to be fully present for every child while your heart feels pulled in 100 different directions. He sees every dance recital you smiled through, every school program you attended while carrying heartbreak inside, every bedtime prayer, every difficult conversation, every act of love. None of it was wasted. One of the verses that carried me through those years is Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. There were so many days when I honestly didn't know how I was going to keep going, but over and over again, God reminded me that I didn't have to carry everything by myself, and neither do you. Mama, if you're walking through this season today, I want you to remember something. Your family can still laugh. Your family can still make memories. Your children can still feel deeply loved. Healing doesn't always happen all at once. Sometimes it comes from one conversation, one prayer, one hug, one ordinary day at a time. And maybe that's where God does some of His most beautiful work. Not in the big moments, but in the quiet, everyday moments when we simply keep showing up. Before we end today, I want to leave you with one final thought. If you have more than one child, make it a point to spend a little one-on-one time with each of them. It doesn't have to be elaborate or expensive. Let them know they are seen. Let them know they are heard. And let them know they are deeply loved. because while addiction may change your family's story, it never gets to define every chapter. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I know there are lots of podcasts you could listen to, and it truly means so much that you've chosen to spend this time with me. If today's episode encouraged your heart, would you do me a favor? Share it with another mom who may need this reminder today. You never know how God might use your simple act of sharing to bring hope to someone who's feeling alone. And if this episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, leave a review, or simply let me know you're listening. Those messages encourage me more than you know, and they remind me why God placed this ministry on my heart. Remember, Mama, you are not alone. You are stronger than you think. God is walking beside you every single step of the way. And as always, stay courageous. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Courageous Moms Podcast. I hope you're walking away with a little more hope, a lot more strength, and the reminder that you're never alone on this journey. If today's episode resonated with you, don't forget to check out the Courageous Moms Toolkit. It's packed with resources to help you find peace, set boundaries, and navigate this challenging season with love and grace. You can grab it now using the link below. And if you're looking for a supportive community of moms who truly understand what you're going through, I'd love for you to join the Courageous Mom Circle Support Group. It's a place where you can connect, share, and find encouragement from moms walking the same path. Before you go, always remember that you are not alone and you are stronger than you think. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Courageous Moms Podcast. I'm Christie Studd, sending you love, hope, and strength. Together, we can find beauty through the struggle, and yes, sometimes through rose-colored glasses.